What's going on, y'all? So I read the headlines yesterday and I thought it sounded too good to be true, so I had to do my research. It started on The Verge, and then I saw it today on Fox News, ABC News, Epoch Times, Breitbart, Town Hall, and RT. Of course, you won't see this in New York Times and Washington Post. They don't want to talk about it. I'm not surprised. And the story we're talking about is CrossFit, one of the biggest nutritional/exercise movements in the U.S. People say CrossFitters are like vegans. They'd never stop talking about it. You come up and you're like, hey, did you have the math homework from yesterday? They're like, oh, CrossFit? Yeah, I do it. And they're like, no, I said, I asked if you had the groceries. They're like, oh, no, I do CrossFit. No, I'm just playing. All jokes aside, so CrossFit came out and decided to be absolute legends. They deleted their Facebook and Instagram, citing a lot of real stuff. First off, I want to say, Facebook has been very, very kind to me. I'm not going to delete mine. We all have our ways of being effective. I've been very blessed on Facebook, 250 million video views. I've reached millions of people weekly, and now they let me monetize. So I just want to be honest, Facebook's been good to me, but they've been very sketchy and not good to many of us, including data and surveillance stuff. We're going to talk about it. But CrossFit, just unbelievable legends. So they came out, and the Verge article, now it's everywhere. They had an official press release where they sounded off and said, I got a few good sound bites, and then I'm going to list all the things that they said are wrong with Facebook and Instagram. And in many ways, in almost every way, they're not wrong. They said Facebook is complicit in the global chronic disease crisis. We're going to get into that in a second. My favorite soundbite from their press release was, Facebook news feeds are censored and crafted to reflect the political leanings of Facebook's utopian socialists. It's coming from CrossFit. They're a huge organization. It's really cool to see people finally speaking out against not just tech censorship and crazy Orwellian algorithm shifts. They got AI, artificial intelligence, rigging everything, and also censoring, silencing, deleting groups and stuff. Anybody who says anything other than what they say. I'm going to read it again and get down to all the other cool stuff. It said Facebook news feeds are censored and crafted to reflect the political leanings of Facebook's utopian socialists. Hold on, I might do some push-ups. This inspired me. I'm a CrossFitter now. If you guys keep talking like this, I'll join the plan. I'll promote it every day. All jokes aside, I guess this all started when Facebook deleted a 7-day meal plan group without warning or explanation. I guess they reinstated it, but it looked like CrossFit had a lot of stuff built up. They were just waiting to delete Facebook and sound off against them. So here's another good quote from them, and this is very true. I talk about a lot in a different way. They say that they stand steadfastly and often alone against an unholy alliance of academia, government, and multinational food, beverage, and pharmaceutical companies. So CrossFit, like myself and many others, have realized that it's not just Facebook, Google, Instagram, Twitter, but all of television, I believe, is sold out to obviously the food and beverage industry. They don't tell you to drink water. They don't tell you to go for an exercise. They never tell you to maybe change your mindset and try to be more grateful and appreciative. They don't tell you to take all the steps necessary to maybe try to cure depression or, unhealthy diets or unhealthy lifestyle. I'm not saying it's always the case. I do believe in medicine sometimes, absolutely. I'm not 100% in that direction, but all of their commercials are Coca-Cola, Taco Bell. It's like unhealthy food. And then they're like, does your stomach hurt sometimes on Wednesdays? And you're like, well, it's Tuesday. Yeah, it usually does hurt tomorrow. And they're like, well, you might have cirrhosis of the liver, kidney. And then they have like this pill to take. And then, if you take it, it'll give you 50 other diseases. It's getting so bad that I saw a commercial the other day on television where they said that they were trying to say that fish oil is bad for you. So not only can't they just sell their pill now, they're like, well, the things that we've always told you are healthy, they're actually bad for you. Take our pills. So the television and the social media companies, among others, and all these celebrities, I always say, these people act like they're the moral saviors of humanity. They're like, we want these people, we want those people. And then I'm like, will you take those people and these people into your houses? You have 5 mansions and 30 spare, but no, not us. We want them to live down in the city. We'll go up to the hills and we'll live uninterrupted. But also, you can tell a lot about someone based on what they'll sell you. And you look at all of these television stations and these people who tell you, I'm the moral leader. I'm so much better than this person or that person. Look at what they'll sell you. They'll sell you crappy food. They'll sell you pills. They'll sell you anything just to make a buck. So it says a lot about who they really are. But CrossFit sounding off against them. And also they said, Facebook's actions should give any serious person reason to pause, especially those of us engaged in activities contrary to prevailing opinion. So CrossFit realizes if you don't agree with the popular opinion, and this is something that I like to talk about because it's outside of politics, this is something that a lot of liberals and conservatives I think can agree on. When it comes to nutrition, when it comes to diet, when it comes to medicine, these social media companies, these television stations, and a lot of these politicians are so far sold out, their heads so far up these industries' butts, they can't even speak. They're just sounds like a fart. But all jokes aside, you get what I'm saying. That's something that I think if we stop arguing about politics all the time, that we can maybe make some progress on. The food industry, the drug industry, it could be better, it could be worse. I'm not trying to complain. There's definitely some good medicine and food out there. However, that's something that I think everybody knows, that social media companies and politicians and the television, they're just ruthlessly pushing the agenda of some of the worst companies. I mean, I'm not trying to judge. I'm not saying they're the worst company ever, but you have Bayer and Monsanto had a big merger. Bayer, who, read their Wikipedia, read their history. They have ties from IG Farben, I believe was the name, back in Nazi Germany. You could check out some of the stuff they've done. Monsanto has ties, I believe, to, look it up and research for yourself. Agent Orange, Manhattan Project, a lot of stuff that has nothing to do with food and medicine for that instance. They now own a lot of the seeds and the medicine industry. You have, Roundup commercials all over the television where they're saying Roundup is the most trusted name in weed killers. And then you could do a research about all the lawsuits against them and the results of those lawsuits. All I'm saying is it does seem like your social media companies and your television stations have partnered with some of the companies that don't have the best track records in really being healthy, which is bad enough. And they're allowed to do that. That's their choice. But then where CrossFit realizes they're going too far, and myself as well, is now they're trying to censor you if you disagree with it. They use a few, oh my God, measles outbreak in this measles outbreak, although, it's not super common or anything, but then they'll say, okay, that happened, and if you say this, if you say this, if you say this, if you say this, if you like this medicine, if you don't like this, if you don't like this, you can't talk, you're going to get deleted, we're going to fact check you, we're going to suspend you for 10 days. And CrossFit's tired of it, I'm tired of it, and there's tens of millions of people across the political spectrum that are really tired of it. It's okay to have a certain perspective. It's okay to say that person is silly, that person is dumb, but where it crosses the line to me is saying, we're right, you're wrong, you saying that or you thinking that's dangerous, because almost 9 times out of 10, the people who are saying, we're censoring you if you say that, you're not allowed, usually they're partnering with the worst food, beverage, and medicine companies who not only have a bad track record in history, but even up to the last 5 years or to today, I don't see much evidence that their medicine and their food and their beverages are great at all. I think they're causing a lot of damage. And if you look at the health of our country, the physical health, the mental health, and also the life expectancy, it's going backwards for the first time in a long time, if not ever. If you talk about the last 100 years, where it's like getting better, and it's getting worse. And now they're saying you can't talk about it. If you want to call this out, that out, this out, and make no mistake, a lot of these agendas, even like, I'm not going to go into detail, but the vaccine one, they say, okay, well, I'm not saying vaccines are bad. I think there are some vaccines that are great and they've gotten rid of diseases, but they want to make it so they could pump any medicine that they want inside of you, make you take anything, and then if you disagree or want to opt out, you're not allowed to do it. And that's the reason that we have freedom, not so people can bring back old diseases. I agree that that's terrible and in some cases reckless, but they want to control, they want the government. And I've had conversations with doctors in certain states where it's very liberal, aka the government has more power and mandate over the drug industry, food industry, every industry, etc. And these doctors are telling me behind closed doors, they're saying, Anomaly, I can't do what I'm supposed to do. I'm not allowed to do what I went to school for. I'm not allowed to do what's right or what I think's right or what my field knows right. We have to listen to this government official or else I'm going to get fired. I'm just a government pawn. They've told me I can't even tell you the truth. I have to tell you what the government, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. And trust me, they're going to use vaccines and other, shock factor things that a lot of people say that's bad. You could think it's bad that people don't want to vaccinate their children, but just know they're going to use that just like the women and children at the border. It's not that I hate women and children. It's just that they know that if they use something that's hard to disagree with, then they could push forward an agenda that has nothing to do with that. So please, regardless of your political affiliation, be very cautious of any sort of like shock factor, you can't disagree with this sort of narrative, because that's usually how they start wars, take more power, take more money, and take more control historically. And in modern history, it's been happening a lot in the last couple of years. Back to the CrossFit story. They listed out 8 things, and I wrote a few of them down word for word. I want you to hear what they said, because CrossFit, I should do some more push-ups. I'll do it after. They have reached legendary status for this press release, and they're deleting on Facebook and Instagram. So the first reason, they gave succinct reasons. Facebook collects and aggregates user information and shares it with state and federal authorities, as well as security organizations from other countries. This is CrossFit saying this, guys. This is so awesome. I'm going to be a CrossFitter now. Everyone says, Anomaly, what are you doing? I'm like, CrossFit. They're like, Anomaly, what's your favorite food? I'm like, I'm funny you asked. My favorite food's CrossFit. They're like, are you vegan? I'm like, no, I'm CrossFit. I only eat CrossFit. Now I'm gonna be a real CrossFitter at this point. I'll read that one again. We'll go on to the other ones. Facebook collects and aggregates user information and shares it with state and federal authorities, as well as security organizations from other countries. Even CrossFit knows that. Facebook collaborate. This is number 2. Reasons they cited why they're deleting their Facebook and why they're upset with Facebook and Instagram. Facebook collaborates with government security agencies on massive citizen surveillance programs such as PRISM, P-R-I-S-M, all capitals. You can look it up if you want to learn more. Third reason, Facebook censors and removes user accounts based on unknown criteria and at the request of third parties, including government and foreign agencies. So this is a big problem I have, obviously, that they're removing accounts based on what government people and foreign agencies want. And all these phony speech organizations like ACLU, SPLC, all these hate groups and fact checkers they work with, they're all operative, total dishonest, can't tell the truth if their life depended on it type organizations. They're not moral leaders of truth by any means. But I'm very fair. If someone conservative needs to get deleted because they're threatening people, or if the rule truly was, this is what hate is. This is what it is. If there was a specific thing like this is it. This is true. Everyone can agree on this. And if you go too far, you got to get off these websites because there's kids on here. Whatever that was, they're allowed to do that. In my personal perspective, if they were honest about it. But the problem is when they delete Paul Joseph Watson or they delete this CrossFit group that they reinstalled or whatever. They don't ever give a reason sometimes. They give none. They've deleted pages with millions of views. You got people making 6 figures on these accounts and running social media as a full-time job, and they're deleting everything, in some cases with no explanation. I mean, that is insane, borderline psychopathic. I really don't understand. If I run Facebook or I run an organization and I know I'm deleting a big account with hundreds of thousands or even a smaller account, you have your friends and family on there, at least, at bare minimum, give a reason. This is why you were deleted. This is the post you were deleted for, and this is why. Even though it could be wrong, sometimes they don't even do that. I mean, who's running these companies to think that that's okay or that's a good idea? I just don't understand. And in many cases, they give broad reasons such as dangerous, or a lot of times people send me some of the stuff they posted, a joke or a sarcastic comment or something that's just a little edgy, that's not even that bad, that they're deleting people for. Recently on Twitter there were left-wingers that got deleted, the Krasenstein brothers, and my perspective on that is I'm obviously pro free speech, but Facebook, I mean, this is Twitter now, they didn't really give a good reason. I got to look into it because the brothers said that they're not using any bots, and Twitter was saying that they were using fake bots purchased to make it look like they had real followers. And I'm confused because, first of all, a lot of celebrities have fake purchase bots. You could tell if they have millions of followers and they can't even get 20 retweets, 30 retweets. I have, I think 40 or 50,000 followers on Twitter, and I could consistently get between 10 to thousands of retweets. So if you have 10 million followers and you can't even get 5, 10 likes, probably you have bot accounts, and of course they're not going to delete celebrities. But also, here's the thing with the Krasenstein brothers. In my personal view on Twitter, if they were using bots because they their big thing is when President Trump tweets, they say something immediately, so they're the top comment. And if they're using bot accounts to make them have first comment, like they're typing it in there and then they have robots that post right as Trump posts, I would understand why Twitter would delete that, and I would approve of it if they said, listen, this is why we deleted the Krassenstein brothers. They were using these kind of bots. These kind of bots are illegal, and we caught them doing that. I respect that, but even Twitter, even when it's left-wing accounts I don't like, they don't do that. They say they did this, or maybe they did this, or maybe they did this, and sometimes they don't give a reason, or they give us a tweet that wasn't even dishonest, or wasn't even hate speech at all. It's literally insane what these companies are doing, and they need leadership. And I always say, when it comes to the president or other things, there's things that I disagree with, there's things that I agree with, but a lot of people, and this isn't just with our president now, but in life, sometimes when you have your own shortcomings and your own problems and your own, like lack of substance, or maybe it's, personal problem in your life, people often scapegoat their problem on others. I always say people who gossip a lot or talk down on others, what they're really saying is, I'm not comfortable with myself. I don't like my own life. Because if you really want to help somebody, you're not just going to talk trash about them. You're going to talk to them and say, this is how I could help you, or try to do that. It's not, so when it comes to a lot of this stuff, they're scapegoating, they're scapegoating the president. And I'm not saying you can't disagree. You could talk about his war policies, economy, you could say that. But that's not what like 90% of these critics are doing. They're scapegoating their own personal problems, their own shortcomings, their own political problems on the president, and sometimes onto other people, and they keep pushing. So in California, where I live, we have the highest poverty. We have what I would think is the most homelessness, if not top 3. Even though we have the highest taxes, and it's the small businesses are leaving the state, fleeing to other countries more than any other state. So they always talk about the president. They never face those problems. And the reason I'm talking about all this is because when it comes to Facebook and Twitter, it's like they spend their whole lives worrying about other people. I get you have to police your thing, but they're always scapegoating and hating people who disagree with them politically or health-wise or medicine-wise. And their leadership, their lack of leadership, and their lack of integrity, their lack of honesty, their lack of having a sane, rational set of guidelines for everyone to follow, they have nothing. They're absolutely collapsing, and that's why, in many ways, this ideology, and I'm not saying Facebook is all left-wing ideology, but this is why it is kind of collapsing worldwide in the UK and Canada, here, Brazil, Spain, Australia, you name it. It's just going to keep happening. Italy, among others, even Sweden is moving right. It's because people are tired of this hypocrisy, and social justice and words and policing and doing this type of stuff is not a long-term strategy. And I'm not saying the other side and the other parties don't have stuff to work on as well. Just to be quite fair, it does seem like an ideology, no matter which side you stray on, you have to live in the victim world where you're constantly playing the victim. You rate people based on their race, religion, gender, and sexuality rather than the content of their character, which is not very popular worldwide. And if you stray from that norm, if you want to say something that might be a little edgy but might be very real, or might be, a tough truth that people don't want to acknowledge, or a joke, or, a counter medicine, but when it comes to the food and health industry, what they say is healthy and what they push is so not healthy, is so wrong, that any sort of truth, any sort of good diet, any sort of good exercise plan, whether it be CrossFit or others, is against their agenda. So they will try to censor you. They will try to shut you down. They'll tell you that it's not good because they want you to take their medicine. They want you to eat their crappy food. They probably want you to be lethargic, so you continue in that cycle of programming, believing their lies. If you could believe one lie, you could believe 5 lies, you could believe 10 lies. That's why I always say, to change the world, you do have to change yourself, because they'll sell you what you're going to buy. You get what I'm trying to say. If you leave a gap for them to come in, they're going to come in. So if you can accept that lie, and you could buy that product, and you could do all that stuff, they can control your whole life in many ways. And I think CrossFit, among others, knows that. So some of the other stuff that they mentioned in their list of why they were leaving Facebook was that Facebook collects, aggregates, and sells user information as a matter of business, and they said that it even sells it to governments and businesses alike, which I don't doubt. They cited poor security protocols and, kind of gave a jab to Facebook for being the subject of one of the largest breaches of user data in history, and also that they are acting as a service or a servant, I don't know exactly what it said, of the food and beverage industry, which is totally, totally true. And I've been saying that for a minute. Just look at what people sell, and also you gotta, when it comes to politics or any of this stuff, like, look at who they are and what they're doing. Because a lot of these late night hosts who are constantly critical, if you're so interested in the American people and the health and the mindset and the politics, look at your advertisers. Look at what you're selling to them. Look at the medicine. I mean, television's just disgusting. Every other commercial is some sort of disgusting pill that's probably causing more damage than doing good. But that's it. CrossFit. Huge legends calling out Facebook, deleting Facebook and Instagram, calling out the breaching of data, the fact that they're selling your information to governments, domestically and foreign. Very, very ballsy. CrossFit has now joined the list of legends who stood up for America. I'm going to do a few more push-ups now as I sign off. I'm stronger than I look here. It's a bad angle for me, guys. But God bless you guys. God bless America. God bless your family. God bless the world. Thank you guys for being very patient with me. I turned off my phone for about the first half of the month. It was awesome. I feel refreshed, energized, and unplugged. Very cool. And a lot of people hit me up and said I inspired them to turn off their phone for a few days, which is awesome. When it comes to Facebook and Instagram, I'm not going to delete my accounts, but I will continue to try to battle from within. And I do want to say I like to be appreciative and grateful, even in places that many people don't want to be. I know I always say it's easy to agree with people you agree with, but what I appreciate and what seems to be harder to do is find someone you don't like and try to find something that you do like that they said. Like I used to like Jill Stein more. I don't like her. I'm not a big fan of her now, but she said something honest about Broward County. So I shared her post. It doesn't mean I agree with everything she says, but I try to look for the good in others and try to reach across the aisle. So do that. And also, I want to say with Facebook, of course, they're doing all the stuff that CrossFit's saying. I think they're legends for sharing that message, and it's going to go pretty far now that they've said all that stuff. But I have to be honest, and Facebook's been really great. Without Facebook, none of you would know me. I have almost 700,000 followers. I get monetized now, and I make a majority of my money from Facebook advertisement revenue. And I'm very, very grateful for that. And they allow me to say my message. And this message that I'm saying here, they would never allow it on television. They would never allow it probably anywhere really in the entertainment industry, as far as like with the big players, the big agents, and the big companies, corporations. So I'm very, very grateful for social media, and I do think that what they're doing is a slow loss, kind of like Brexit in the UK or like Trump here or Canada. They're loud, they're proud, they're very stubborn, and so are a lot of people, but I do think that they're wearing themselves down. And thank you so much to CrossFit. Any company, person, or corporation that steps up like this, I'll support you, and I promise you, you'll be a legend. It'll go a lot farther than being silent and not wanting to mess up the status quo. I love that CrossFit is just fearless and came out and said all this stuff, because a lot of people in the nutrition and food industry know this already, and politics sometimes just messes us up. That's why, even though I'm going to continue to make videos, obviously I'm going to get back on a normal schedule next week, but I want to do more stuff that's solution based, and I always try to leave a good message and be a little bit better than the rest of the competition as far as like energy and what I'm trying to accomplish. But there's things that I do want to accomplish that I know there's politics, and it's just running in circles, and it's left and right, and everybody's arguing. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? I'm not a politician. I'm not trying to be. So I want to focus on solutions. And I think if I talk about food, medicine, and even maybe like cleaning and like the ocean and stuff like that, if I can really actually do it somehow, I'm gonna focus on that. And I think this is one of those stories that can really bring people together and get people to realize that the left and the right, obviously, tax-wise and economically, there's huge differences. And, in my personal perspective, one of them is tripping really hard. But if we have these conversations, I think we'll realize that we're not that different. And what the news does, the mass media, I would say on both sides, is they take out the most annoying people from the right, and then they take out the most annoying people from the left, and then they show them to you, and then they try to sell you all sorts of stuff because you're stressed out. And it's not cool. I think we got to have a conversation, talk to each other, not just talk about each other, not become so intolerant to different perspectives, because that's how you really get through to somebody, is by listening to them, being considerate, being compassionate, understanding, and then speaking your mind. You can't change everyone, but we can coexist, and it's not as bad as they say it is on the news, especially in America. We're very, very fortunate here. It's one of the greatest times to be alive. Technology, all sorts of privileges, human privileges, American privileges that they'll never talk about, because human and American privileges would bring people together instead of divide them via skin tone and ethnicity and gender and sexuality. But you get the drill. God bless you guys. Have a good week, and I'll be back with more videos soon.